Hey, how we doing out there on this Wednesday, guys? This is Frank. This is the House of Orange coming at you. We'll talk some football here today. We'll talk some portal. Going to talk season opener next year against Syracuse. We'll talk about some of these way too early polls that have come out, as well as those of Tennessee's ranking is really it's had a range of anywhere from about 9 to 19 that I've seen on it. But make sure you hit that like, that share, that subscribe. This is going to be a fun one. There's a couple interesting targets that we'll talk about in this one. One of them, let's go ahead and start with Carnell Tate out here. Let's start with this one, as this has been on Tennessee's wish list for going back to his high school recruitment. It was believed to come down between Ohio State and Tennessee. Ohio State won that recruitment. Carnell Tate just won a national championship. And there's talk out there that maybe he wants to be a number one receiver, as Ohio State does have Jeremiah Smith out there. And there's been talk on, I saw where, I'm not sure who the reporter was, but somebody asked Tate about the portal after they won the championship, and he said he just wanted to enjoy the night. There's been talk as well. I've seen some people post on like message boards where there's the chatter on the Ohio State board. I don't know how serious it is, to be honest with you, but it's out there, and it's been out there for some time that Tate could be interested in hitting the portal, because with Jeremiah Smith, you're not going to be that number one receiver. So would Tate want to go somewhere and be a number one receiver? Right there's your place if you do it. Now, I have to see him hit it before I believe it, because Ohio State's going to try very hard to keep him in the fold, and probably have a pretty good shot to keep him in the fold as well. I've seen some people saying, well, Oregon will be heavily involved in that recruitment if Tate hits portal. What's the point of him hitting the portal if he's going to go to Oregon? They already have their number one out there in Stewart, and they've added more to it. So why would you go to Oregon just to do the same thing you're doing now? And you just won a national championship in which you smeared Oregon in the second round of the playoffs. That one doesn't make sense to me. I have seen it say that he's got a girlfriend that goes there, so that part would make sense. But at the same time, though, if you're leaving specifically to go be a number one receiver, why would you go somewhere that already has a proven top-notch number one? Because if you're going to do that, there's no need in leaving Ohio State. But if Tate were – now, it takes two to tango. Okay, we consider and say, well, Tennessee provides the perfect opportunity for a number one wide receiver, and it does. That interest has to be reciprocated, though, because if he doesn't have interest in him this time – but you got to think with the prior relationship, Kelsey Pope was here during that recruitment. So they have that prior relationship with him. If I'm going to see, and if Tate is to hit the portal, again, I kind of got to see it to believe it. If he does hit the portal, here's, I don't know what their money situation's like, but you better make it happen, because there's Tate. There's one more guy I'm going to talk about here in just a minute. That would make for a really good offense in Knoxville, because you've got Nico. If Nico makes the strides that we think he should from last year, this year, he got his feet wet, more than wet last year. He has that experience now in SEC play. He has playoff experience as well. And, one of the things about it, and if you ask Ohio State fans, a lot of them come in here after they played. A lot of them really praise Nico for his grit, for how he played, how hard he played against Ohio State. To me, that was extremely encouraging, because it was a tough game. And, he got his helmet cracked, and people say, well, how was that not a personal foul? I think what people don't realize, though, Nico can take a lick. He can dish them out too. So I think it was a combination on that. But Ohio State fans, there were numerous said, yeah, he'll look good playing for us next year. Obviously, it's not going to happen at this point. Not to say you couldn't ever hit the portal. You never know in this day and age with any player, not just him, any player out there. But you got Nico. You just added Star Thomas from Duke to go along with Peyton Lewis, Deshaun Bishop, and your freshman coming in. It's a pretty good offensive backfield. You've already added. Here's my philosophy on it. It's Lance Hurd. Interior line, you're going to have Wendell Moy Jr., the guy I'm getting ready to talk about here in a minute. I'm really curious to see if this one works out. I think you have Satterwhite, maybe Max Anderson at center. I think it'll be William Satterwhite. Right tackle to me has to be David Sanders Jr. There's no explanation they can give me for not putting David Sanders Jr. in that starting lineup from day one. There's just not. You look at the tight ends, Kitzelman will be back, Ethan Davis. Now you've added through you added through the high school ranks as well. You're good at tight end. Wide receiver, I think, has potential. Mike Matthews coming back was big. And I think this Carnell Tate thing could be similar to Mike Matthews, where he very well may give some thought to going in. It does not mean that he will. I mean, it was reported that Matthews was going in the portal. 24/7 put him in the portal, which led to people saying he's officially in. He never was officially in the portal. He ended up not entering the portal with Matthews, with Brazel, with Braylon Staley, with the freshman class coming in, with Amari Jefferson. If you add Tate to that, if he were to enter and you were to get him, perfect. I mean, what more could you ask for really out of the portal? Defense, I think they still need some guys on the line just for depth. Linebacker, good. Secondary, I mean, I just don't see anybody that's going to enter that they need to go after. I just don't think you put your NIL money in somebody just to put it into it. If you save it and you get Carnell Tate now, you have utilized your portal money really well. But we'll see if he actually enters or not. It's all talk right now. There's definitely some smoke out there. We'll see, though, if anything comes of it or not. But if you're Tennessee, you got to think they're in it. And if you're Tennessee, you better go into this one guns a-blazing. You better go in that you're not getting outbid, if that's what it comes down to, because you have the opportunity with a number one receiver. You know Nico was on that recruitment the first time. What can you show him, though, offensively to get him in there? That's going to be the key for it. Second guy who this dude is officially in the portal, Pete Nakos, on 3 reported today that Sam Pendleton, Notre Dame offensive guard Sam Pendleton, has entered the portal. He does have a no contact on it, which means basically he knows who he wants to talk to, or he may even know where he's going to go at this point, because Amari Jefferson had one as well, and we saw how that went. That went pretty quick with Tennessee. But Sam Pendleton, he's out of North Carolina, played at Notre Dame. He started the first 7 games of the year, and I was looking at it, and it said, especially like Notre Dame's first game was against Texas A&M, Notre Dame had a 47-yard touchdown run in that game, which was big in them winning. It said Pendleton had the key block in it. And according to Pro Football Focus, they said he graded out in the 60s on it, and he had beat out 2 seniors earlier in the year. What the article says, though, Notre Dame's starting center got an injury, forced them to move some things around. The 2 seniors that Pendleton had beaten out were put back into the lineup, and it said they started playing their best football. And then when they got everybody back, Pendleton was the odd man out. Now, he comes with 3 years of eligibility left. He's listed as a redshirt freshman. Now, out of North Carolina, from what I've seen, Tennessee was in on that recruitment the first time. I'll be honest, that name doesn't ring a bell to me, but I'm not saying it's not true. But I did see Austin Price, VolQuest.com, talk about him as well, that he feels that'll be somebody Tennessee's highly interested in. So the fact that he has a no contact on it. Now, teams can back channel on that, but teams, it cuts down on just a lot. I think it cuts a lot of it out in terms of having all these teams contact. That'd be a good pickup for Tennessee. Again, 6'4", 295. You plug him in at that point, I think you got a much better offensive line next year. I really do. Tennessee's going to miss Cooper Mays. Spraggins did some good things over his career. I really kind of thought he was starting to regress a bit. John Campbell, I mean, I know that dude was giving his all out there. Dane Davis, these guys, but I really think where Tennessee's at now, if you develop this talent, you've got more talent on this roster in terms of the offensive line, in terms of who you've recruited. I think it'll be a lot better line next year. Just my opinion, but it's a prove-it year too. Now, so there's your portal news right now, or your portal rumors. It's not news, it's rumors right now. Pendleton is one. It seems like Tennessee may have a pretty good shot at. Tate, it's going to be wait and see. He's got to enter the portal first. But Tennessee makes sense. Tennessee makes a lot of sense if he does. But I'm sure there's going to be other big-time teams out there that can always use a receiver like Carnell Tate. Dude's got a ton of talent. But talk team news a little bit. Syracuse, they've already released like an early line, and Tennessee's a 13.5-point favorite in that game. I'm trying to think of oh man, I cannot remember what Syracuse quarterback McCord. He is going pro, so he will not be back next year. So that's one. Who does Syracuse break in as a quarterback? And that's the opener in Atlanta, which I'm a fan of those neutral site games. You don't lose a home game for them. I don't care about them going on the road for a non-conference game. It's in recruiting hotbeds. You play Nashville, you play Atlanta, you play Charlotte. I would rotate them. And I would possibly even, if there's another territory, if you wanted to go to Northern Virginia up in that way, play Washington, D.C. I'm a fan of it. You don't lose a home game out of it. And there's no sense going on the road for an out-of-conference game, in my opinion. Especially not with as brutal as the SEC already is. So that's kind of the opening line there. And then some of the I seen Brett McMurphy. He's got Tennessee 9th in his preseason. ESPN had him 19th. And ESPN talked about the offensive issues, and they said they expect Tennessee to take another step back next year. So they got him 19th. On 3, I seen here has him 13th going into next year. And I'm pretty good with those. There's another one, and I can't remember which one it is now, had him 14th. So I'm pretty good with that. And I'll be honest, I think it's a tougher schedule because you're going to Florida, you're going to Alabama. When's the last time we've beaten either one of them on the road? I was talking to my dad about that, and I'm pretty sure it was 2003. I know it was definitely 2003 the last time we beat Florida on the road. And I'm pretty sure it was 2003 last time we beat Alabama on the road as well. Because I know in 2005 was Corey Anderson fumble. 2007 was Saban's first year, and they run him out of the stadium on that. And we never beat Saban until 2022. So I'm pretty sure, looking back on it, 2003 was the last time Tennessee beat Alabama. Of course, they beat them both in the same year on the road. That's pretty good there. But where does, you've got Georgia at home. Georgia is consensus top 10 preseason. Georgia's, they're reload, not rebuild along the way. And then, you've got your other games too. You've always got, can Tennessee learn to play on the road or not? That's going to be key. I'll probably do something at some point where I do a way too early look at next season's team and maybe even the schedule as I look at it as well. As like I said, it looks like it's going to be a tough schedule. Again, maybe a better team, but a tougher schedule along the way. So if you can avoid 3 losses, I think you have a good shot to playoffs, unless they expand them, and then you may have a chance there as well. But make sure you guys hit that like, that share, that subscribe. If you're a baseball fan, we've put out 4 parts of our preseason or our season preview baseball series. Talked about the pitchers, the catchers, and we've talked about the corner infielders so far. Got 2 more parts coming the next 2 days, and then we're figuring out when to do a live stream as well to kind of sum it all up. So you guys have a great rest of your day. This is Frank, House of Orange. Last but not least, go Vols.